For 10 wonderful days you have been traveling across the country on your bicycle. Now you are biking to an old mining town called Silverlode. The scenery is magnificent. You pass by rocky bluffs, occasionally stopping to explore caves and climb to the tops of mountains. Pine forests are abundant, and the air is crisp and clean. It is the best vacation you have ever had. As you pedal along a winding road to the top of the highest mountain, you grow weary. Your legs are weak, and the thin air of the high altitude makes it difficult for you to catch your breath. Just as you reach the top, you see a boy resting near to his bike at this side of the road. Continue on page 2. You stop and climb off your bike, delighted to see another person. After you introduce yourselves, you ask him where he's going. Anywhere but Silverlode, Chris answers. What do you mean? That's where I'm heading, you say. I intend to spend a few days there. I wouldn't if I were you, Chris answers ominously. The town has been invaded. Continue to page 3. Invaded, you ask? 3 days ago, he explains. I was exploring an old mine shaft a mile from town. Something happened while I was deep inside, but the people told me it was a huge sun flare. But I suspect it was more, for the blinding light was accompanied by an earth-shattering tremor that lasted 2 minutes. I saw and felt nothing because I was protected by the shaft, but weird things began to happen. It all started with the terrible black slime that began to bubble into town. Where did it come from, you ask, fascinated? Continue on page 4. Nobody knows, but the night after it appeared, the animals howled until dawn. Then people began to behave in strange ways, making hissing noises and attacking each other. Yesterday, 2 people were murdered, but nobody seemed to care. When I got upset, everyone thought I was crazy. It is though their minds have been unclouded. I was frightened by their behavior, so I decided to leave while I still could. But where will you go, you ask? Continue on page 5. In the next valley, there's a house that belonged to my uncle, Harry Crispen. It's the only place I can go. Is your uncle a nice man, you ask? Oh, he's been dead for 10 years. He was very rich and owned this crazy house. They say that weird things go on inside that empty house. Uncle Harry left a will that stipulated that the first person who could spend 24 hours there would inherit $1 million. Wow! Not so fast, the boy replies. 5 people have gone into that house, but no one has ever come out. Is your uncle's house in a town, you ask? No, the nearest house is more than a mile away. It belongs to a doctor. They say he's crazy. Years ago, his only son was killed in a car accident. Shortly after that, he moved from Silverlode to his isolated house. No one has seen him since. He's probably just a lonely old man living out his life in solitude. Continue page 6. Chris sits quietly for a moment and then asks suddenly, would you like to come with me to my uncle's house? If we make it, we can split the $1 million. All right, time to choose. If you suspect that Chris is exaggerating about the black slime and want to continue on your trip as you had originally planned, turn to page 7. If haunted houses and black slime do not appeal to you and you would rather meet the doctor, turn to page 9. If you like the idea of trying to get $500,000 in just one day, go with the boy to his Uncle Harry's house on page 77. We're definitely going for the $1 million. Page 77. You like the idea of getting $500,000, so you agree to go with Chris to his uncle's house. Along the way, Chris tells you about Uncle Harry. He was a musician, he says, but he made his fortune because he was also a mechanical genius and an inventor. When Uncle Harry died, he bequeathed in his will $1 million to whoever could stay in the house for 24 hours. But how do we prove we have stayed there, you ask? In his will, Uncle Harry says that the check will be waiting for the winner, and he was a man of his word. It doesn't sound so tough then. Well, Chris says, I should remind you that 5 people have entered that house in the 10 years since Uncle Henry died. Not one of them has been heard from again. Then why are you doing it? Because I have this suspicion, Chris says, that Uncle Harry used his genius to create a house that would scare people. He was very good at that. 78. You mean it's all a trick, you ask? Yes, except for the disappearances, you add. Right. Then I guess it's time to set the record straight, you say as you bike along the road. It is dusk when you arrive. The house is a long, rambling structure, barely visible through overgrown shrubs and vines that seem to smother the building, cutting off air, blocking out light. As you and Chris squeeze your way through the gnarled branches, you feel like an intruder entering hostile territory. When you finally reach the house, your arms and legs are covered with long red scratches. You climb the first step onto the porch, and the decayed wood crumbles under your weight. There is a squeaking noise, and then something scurries past you, crawling over your foot. A rat, you think, wondering how many more might be inside. 79. There are 3 more steps leading up to the porch, but they are all decayed, so that you stretch your leg up onto the porch and roll your body across the splintering, rotting boards. Slowly, you stand up and pick your way to the door. Chris follows you. You grasp the handle of the door and turn the knob. It is slimy and your hand slips. As you are wiping the door knob with your shirt, you notice a shiny black object on your hand. 80. What's that? Chris asks. You look. Oh no, you moan with disgust. It's a leech. You grab the blood-sucking creature, pull it off your hand, and then fling it into the bushes. A shiver of revulsion travels down your spine. As you reach for the doorknob again, a long, unearthly moan fills the air. At first you think it is the sound of the wind, but a second moan follows. The eerie sound is clearly coming from inside the house. Your body grows cold and clammy, and your hands begin to sweat. Suddenly, something grabs you from behind. You start to scream and then turn to defend yourself, but it is only Chris. He is clutching your arm in terror. "I'm not going," he said. "No amount of money is worth going in there. Come on, let's get away while we can." As Chris speaks, a third moan, louder and longer than the others, comes through the door. You do not know if it is the sound of warning or the cry of someone in terrible agony. 81. "I'm getting out of here right now," Chris says. "Are you coming with me?" You pause for a moment. "No," you whisper. "Well, if you're crazy enough to stay, take these matches. Those windows are all painted black. There's no light inside. You're going to need some light." So you take the matches and watch Chris as he scrambles over the porch and disappears into the foliage. You stop, wondering if you have made the right decision. Then you try the door once more and it opens, but just a crack. You push hard, but you can feel something. Some unknown force pushing back. Something from inside is forcing the door shut. You stop to reconsider your decision. There is still time for you to leave with Chris, but before you decide, read this page carefully. The next 17 pages are different from the rest of the book. There are no choices. If you decide to stay, you must read these pages in one sitting. You may not stop to get a snack or go to the bathroom. You may not talk to anyone on the phone or have a conversation with anybody. If you cannot give full attention to the pages, do not read them now. For in order to fully appreciate the occurrences in Uncle Harry's house, you must not be interrupted. Consider your decision carefully. This is your last chance to get out. Once you enter the house, there is no shortcut out of there. Your chance to win the $1 million will come only after you have finished the adventures on the next pages. If you want to run after Chris, make another choice on page 6. If you choose to stay, continue on page 83. 83. You shove harder on the door, overpowering whatever or whoever is pushing against you. Slowly, the door creaks open, and you step inside. You light a match and look around. There is no one there. You even check behind the door. The force pushing against me was nothing but rusty hinges, you tell yourself. As your match is about to burn out, you see a candle lying on a table near the door. You pick it up and light it, but as soon as it is lit, it goes out. You try again. A cold breeze sweeps past you, blowing out the candle again. You light the candle one more time. It remains lit. You hold up the candle and see that you are in a dank, dusty hallway. Cobwebs drape the corners and hang over your head. You can see black spiders scurrying among the webs when you step close. There is an ornate mirror hanging on one wall. On the floor in front of it, there is a table. And in a bowl on the table, fresh and fragrant, is a bouquet of roses. They are beautiful, but who put them here, you wonder? How did these fresh flowers find their way into this decaying house? As you are turning around to explore more of the house, you catch a glimpse of something in the mirror. In the wavering light of the candle, you see your face and the face of someone else behind you. You whirl around, ready to catch whoever is there, but the hallway is empty. Terrified, you turn back to the mirror. The face is still there. You can see it more clearly now. It is the hideous face of a monster. Its mouth is a raw, gaping hole, and blood oozes from its lips. Its nose seems eaten away, for there are only 2 holes in the middle of its face. Its chin is warty and twisted, and its eyes are empty black sockets. You want to scream, to shriek in terror at the top of your lungs, but you cannot make a sound. You say, but it is a squeaky little sound. You cannot control your voice. You do not know if this is a reflection of something in the room that you cannot see, or if the face is inside the mirror. You look at the grotesque image. It is too hideous, too awful to bear, so you pick up the bowl of roses and fling it into the glass. The mirror shatters into hundreds of shards, but there is no sound of breaking glass. There is only silence and the sickly sweet smell of decaying roses. The floor is covered with pieces of mirror, and there are still a few jagged shards clinging to the frame. And now, from every broken piece of the mirror, that hideous face is staring at you and laughing. Hundreds of identical grotesque faces mocking you, laughing at your efforts. Strange music fills the air, soft at first, then louder. It is relentless and terrifying. The awful cacophony assaults your ears, hurting them. The music grows even louder. All you can think about now is getting out of there. You run to the front door and turn the knob, but the door won't budge. You are locked in, trapped. You squeeze the knob harder. It is slippery, and you pull your hand back looking for leeches. But instead, you can see that your hand is covered with blood. You watch as blood drips onto the carpet. You feel no pain, nothing to indicate you have injured your hand, but the blood continues to drip in small splatters on the carpet. You can hear it dripping, as if it were a leaking faucet. Plop, plop, plop. The blood drips relentlessly. You look at the doorknob, and you see that the brass knob is bleeding. There is a large puddle of blood on the floor beneath the knob. It shines and shimmers black in the flickering light. The floor is slimy with blood, and you have to move carefully or you will slip. Holding the candle carefully, you go through the first door that you see, hoping that you can get out of the house through a window. You find yourself in a living room. All the windows are tightly closed, and there is not a breath of air inside, but the lace curtains billow as if they are blowing in the breeze. And the rocking chair in the corner, dusty and empty, rocks back and forth as if someone has just gotten up. There are ghosts in here, and I can't see them, you think. They're all around me. You lunge for a window and try to force it open, but it will not budge. Then you balance on one foot and kick at the glass. It will not break. Frantic, You look around trying to find a way out. As your light passes a painting on the wall, you stop. It is the portrait of an old woman, and she is staring at you. You walk to the center of the room. The eyes follow you. You move to the left. You move to the right. Still the eyes follow you. Wherever you go in the room, whatever you do, the beady, black eyes of the woman follow you. While you stare at the painting, a hint of a smile spreads on the woman's lips. It is as if she is laughing at you, taunting you. As you gaze at the picture, another image begins to take shape. It is the nightmarish face of the hollow-eyed monster in the mirror. And as its face appears, he and the woman join in crazed laughter. You crouch on the floor. The laughter grows louder, more relentless. Then, suddenly, the room is silent. It is the silence of nothingness. And when you look up, the picture frame is empty. As you sit crouched on the floor, a breeze passes, putting out your candle. You are plunged in total darkness. You feel something brush your face. It is a cold, clammy touch. You feel a chill moving through your body. They've come out of the picture to get me, you think. With a shriek, you flail your arms, striking out wildly, desperately against the bodiless creatures. You crawl across the room in the dark until you find the door to the hallway. As soon as you are standing, you light the candle once more. You hear laughter behind you, tormenting you, mocking your frantic efforts to escape. You dash up the stairs, and the laughter follows you like a shadow, like a nightmare come to life. At the top of the stairs, you run through the first door you see, desperately trying to escape the laughter. As you run, you feel things grasping at you, creatures touching you. When you go through the door, you are relieved to see that the room is lit by scores of candles. You no longer have to struggle in the dark. You look around and see a long table at the end of the room. There is something on it. You step closer and your heart stops beating when you see what it is. On the table, wrapped up in filthy, soiled strips of cloth, lies a mummy. You jump back in horror, screaming as the mummy begins to rise from the table. Up it moves, slowly and methodically. You cannot believe this is happening to you. The mummy seems to be lifted by an unknown force that is guiding it to an upright position. You feel your heart pounding, your head spins in terror and disbelief. It's all in my imagination, you tell yourself. This is not really happening to me. This is a horrible trick, a prank that only seems like a nightmare. You cannot stand it another second. You feel yourself growing faint, and you know that you are losing consciousness. You slump against a wall, and the wall gives away. You have inadvertently fallen against a secret panel. You feel yourself plunging into darkness, down into a bottomless pit. You bump hard against something, and then you slide faster and faster in a spiral until suddenly you hit bottom. You stand up and try to grope your way along a path in the darkness. There are openings and tunnels and more openings. You cannot know which turn to take. You are trapped in a pitch-black maze. You take another step and feel the ground beneath your feet give way once more, and you plummet through a dark tunnel until... thud! You are afraid to open your eyes, afraid of what new horror awaits you, but instead of darkness and terror, you discover that you are in a brightly lit room. The room is square, and on each wall is a door, every one a different color. You look above you, but the trapdoor through which you came is closed. You know that the only way out is through one of the 4 doors. If you choose to go through the red door, turn to page 45. If you choose to go through the black door, turn to page 46. If you choose to go through the blue door, turn to page 51. If you choose to go through the yellow door, turn to page 54. We're definitely going to choose the brightest, happiest color, so let's pick yellow. 54. You walk through the door, and to your surprise, find that you are in a beautifully sunlit room. In the corner is a fountain in which goldfish swim. Around the water, lush plants grow. Across the room is a table on which there is a pen and a piece of paper. You go to the table and discover there is a note written on the paper. To whom it may concern. You have come far in this madhouse of mine, and now I must apologize. It was all a trick at first, a delicious ruse I planned, with mechanical ghosts and false spiderwebs. But somewhere along the way, the forces of darkness arrived, and I found that they had invaded the house and taken over. I lost control of this joke of mine. Even I can no longer find my way out. There are 2 exits from this room. One, I think, will lead to freedom, the other to doom. And so I leave this note behind before I made my choice. I will not tell you which door I am choosing, for if I make the wrong choice, I do not want to be responsible for your death. I can only wish you well and wish you wisdom in your choice. I leave, too, in this envelope, $1 million. If you manage to escape this dark hole of evil spirits, then the money may be in some way compensate you for your trials. If you make the wrong choice, the money will do you no good. Good luck and farewell, Harry Crispen. Next to the table are 2 doors. If you choose the door on the right, turn to page 64. If you choose the door on your left, turn to page 108. We're going to try the door on the left, page 108. 50-50 shot. You walk through the door on the left. It leads into a long, winding tunnel, and you cannot see the end. You turn to go back the way you came, but the door has been locked. You have no choice except to go forward. The tunnel is dimly lit at first, and you can just make out where you are going, but as you travel further, it grows dark. Soon you cannot see a thing, and you are forced to feel your way along the slimy, dank walls. You hear rats scuttling along the stone floor, and other creatures slither over your feet. It stinks of decay, and you feel more and more certain as you travel that you have made the wrong choice. After a while, you feel the ground moving upwards, until finally you come to a ladder at a dead end of the tunnel. You climb up the ladder and push hard on the ceiling above you. A trap door begins to open a crack, and sunlight and fresh air pour into the tunnel. Quickly, you crawl outside. You are standing on a hill. The sky is bright and clear, and you are free. You also have $1 million in your pocket. The end.